It's the morning star drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Friday, November 12th. And this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening on this fabulous Friday? We've got some coronavirus updates, current news going on around the world. We have a word study about the Wednesday message, and then victory rhymes with Youngse in South Africa. So how are you guys doing today? It is Friday. It is the last day of the week, and I'm sure all of you are getting ready to enjoy another awesome weekend. So hope you guys are looking forward to some fun, relaxation, realizations, new direction from the Sunday message. So let's get things kicked off here together on the Morning Star Drive. So keep liking, commenting. Let's build the community. And I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. Post your song requests, questions, stories, whatever it is. I'm up for everything. And like I said, guys, I am totally up for new segments and brand new, like just videos of anything. If you guys can discuss with me, this platform will be open to all members. If you want to do something on art, like a whole show by yourself on video, that would be great. I would love to use this platform and build a community for all the members too, right? So if you have any ideas, go ahead, hit me up, and I will definitely have good discussions with you. All right, so what is going on? This week was a good week, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I had this really interesting question. I was going to put it on yesterday, but I was thinking to myself, should I even do it? Because someone was asking me about how do we treat people, say, who left Providence or something like that, right? And I was like, wow, should I really put that down? I thought to myself, it's something that hurts a lot, and it's something that people don't really talk about that much, and they keep it really quiet for some reason. Then it gets really awkward later when someone asks, hey, what happened to this person, right? So I was thinking to myself, is like, well, someone, if because this person actually asked me, like, how did I answer this? And when you look at the reason why we need prayer right now, why there's so many conditions, it is a real spiritual battle that's going on in the world right now. And, it's like, wow, I didn't know. And, a lot of these people, they won't even tell me who it was, and I'm okay with it. But, what's a big question is how should we handle it? And it's an interesting question because it really depends from person to person. It really does, right? So, for instance, some people say, just cut him off. And the answer is, yeah, if you can't handle it, if you're going to get influenced by it, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't be talking to them. Why? Because you can't handle it. It's almost like this, guys. Imagine, if I look even in Christianity, Christians are very, very, even if someone leaves church, they're not going to stop hanging out with them and stop talking to them. They're still going to be friends, right? Now, the only time they'll cut off is when the person is so belligerent and so stubborn that their only goal is to try to get this person out of church too, right? They're like, okay, I can't hang out with you anymore because this is what I believe. You can't say that to me, kind of thing, right? So, so that is a role that many people, if you're self-aware and know your level, there's probably, if you're going to get affected by it, it's probably better to cut off. Just to be all honesty, right? We'll do that in the real world. If a friend becomes too crazy, then you probably don't want to hang out with them anymore, right? Even we cut off friends and stuff like that too. Yeah, if they don't fit or if they're kind of like mean or aggressive, whatever it is, right? Next one is, should you remain friends? Is like, for instance, imagine it's your family or your best friend. You're just going to cut them off. You can't just break love like that, right? Especially if it's your own family, you're not going to do that. It doesn't make any sense, right? So a lot of this really depends from situation to situation, right? There's always a way back. And my rule of thumb is we just need to love people. That's my rule of thumb, is it's all about love. And love doesn't mean you have to always accept everything. Love just means that as long as the rules of love are followed, then there's always forgiveness, right? It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you hang out with them every day, but there's still forgiveness. And it really depends on how the relationship or the interaction between the two people go. And personally, I don't really get affected by these types of things. I don't really, of course, it bothers me, like, oh, I can't believe that actually happened. However, for me, I'm confident and I'm convicted by what I believe in. Yeah, I can remain friends with people. I talk to people who are no longer in church, but in my heart, I have the prayer and the hopes that they will eventually come back. So there are going to be people who are strong enough to do it, and there's people that, shouldn't do it. right? And I think that the overall consensus is some people are just not ready for it. So that's why in most cases, like, hey, maybe you should cut it off more than like kind of like that, because people can get influenced. And I understand that too. But I do think in our hearts, we have to start thinking about there's some people that have gone through something where it's got nothing to do with providence. It's basically having to do with people, right? And when they get hurt by the people, that's when there's still a chance, because they have nothing against Sunsteam or anything else like that. It's just that they've been hurt so badly that they can't come by. You know what I mean? They can't even come to church. So, we need the connections. We need to understand really well more than anything else, right? So I hope that's something that, that we should think about too, is at what level, when God says love your enemies, then what level are we at and how much can we handle? Be self-aware and, put yourself in the most wisest position, okay? So yeah, that's kind of one of the thoughts I had when someone was asking me this question, and it's a really big question. It's something that's very hurtful to some people too, because, people can get offended by those who leave because they're like, oh, how can you do that kind of thing? Oh, I brought you, or whatever it is, right? And it's kind of like understanding God's shimjang, God's heart of someone, a sheep that's lost kind of thing. But just like that shepherd in that parable of the lost sheep, when he goes out, leaves the 99 and finds that one sheep, then all heaven rejoices. So there's a lot of different things that we have to think about, but maybe I should do that for another question Q&A, because that's a really, really big question that needs to be unpacked. Either way, did you guys watch it last night on Espresso with Sky? The new video came out on the Tower of Babel. Right, Tower of Babel, what actually happened during that time, and what Sunsteam talks about, what is the key message coming from that, okay? And also this Sunday, remember this week's Sunday edition, we met, who did we meet this week? Oh, we met Zinien, Dr. Zinien, and next week I am hoping, I'm getting all this stuff ready and done. I still haven't got enough pictures yet, but I'm hoping that we can get Jessica from New Zealand, Jessica Poole from New Zealand for her Sunday edition. Just waiting on just a few more information. I gotta be able to edit this as quick as possible. So Jessica, if you're listening, you need to send me your pictures. I guess this is like the way that you'll be able to catch it though. But I hope you guys are really enjoying the Sunday editions. Just getting to meet each other in an intimate way and see what different members have gone through in their lives before and after coming to this history. And you guys can receive a lot of grace to see how much God is working in other people's lives too. All right. And of course, Patreon videos. Every week there's already a new video up on Word Study. Now I believe I'll put another video up on Word Study too for you guys to take a look at if you'd like. Okay. So let's get into the feature artist of the day on this fabulous Friday. We're gonna start off with Man and Groom from the Paper Music Associates in Korea with Cold Summer, one of my favorite songs right now. Then Kumachung from Japan with Open My Eyes, and then we'll end things off with Justar Aiden Verdi from New Zealand with Cameron Fry Takes a Stand.
다가오면 기대되는 휴가 여름철만 다가오면 짜증나는 더위 끈적끈적한 여름엔 필요해 차가운 아이스크림 같은 한여름밤의 꿈 빨리 안 먹으면 녹아서 끈적끈적해져 like hot summer with mosquito 뜨거운 여름만 다가오면 싫지만 괜스레 두근대는 이 기분은 뭘까 요즘 비가 오면 듣는 빗소리가 좋아 요즘 짝을 찾는 매미 소리도 좋아 시끄러운 매미 소리 밑에 가려진 매미들의 숨가쁜 사랑 노래 괜스레 얼굴이 빨개져 뜨거운 태양처럼 이젠 기대돼 다가올 여름이
여름밤은 너무 더워 우릴 살려줘 열대야가 우릴 삼켜서 we will go 집에서 에어컨은 냉방병 걸려 갈 사람 저요 갈 사람 너요 여름밤은 너무 더워 우릴 살려줘 열대야가 우릴 삼켜서 we will go 집에서 에어컨은 냉방병 걸려 갈 사람 저요 갈 사람 너요
끝에 조금 처해지는 핫서머데이 떠나볼까 젊은 날에 좋은 자리 있으면 좀 잡아도 꽉 막힌 도로여도 오늘은 기분이 설레네 계획은 딱히 없고 몇 시간 달린 후에 바닷가에 시원하게 발부터 담가 붙잡고 파도를 삼켜 동모래성의 쌓아 석양 아래 바다 완모래 아린 너무 예쁜걸 느새 떠윈 잊었고 굳이 여자 없이 우리끼리도 즐겁네 그래도 저기 걸어오는 너희는 너무나 예쁜 거 아쉬움 뒤로 한 채 우리 내년에 기약하자고
여름밤은 너무 더워 우릴 살려줘 열대야가 우릴 삼켜서 we will go 집에서 에어컨은 냉방병 걸려 갈 사람 저요 갈 사람 너요 여름밤은 너무 더워 우릴 살려줘 열대야가 우릴 삼켜서 we will go 집에서 에어컨은 냉방병 걸려 갈 사람 저요 갈 사람 너요
Open the eyes, open the door, open my heart, 見心探して Open the eyes, open the door, open my heart, 未来照らす my way 揺れないで go 揺れないで go どんな困難迫害が来ても動じない強い信仰を持って立ち向かおうファミリーで go ファミリーで go 全ての人を受け入れられる家族のような温かさを持ってゆこう主の御心ファーストでゆこういつも主の心情と共に主の言葉を最優先にして動き出そう伝えよう御言葉を実践し挑戦してナンバーワンを目指してゆこう全ての個性才能を生かし挑戦しよう主役になろう伝えたい I'm happy, I'm happy 新しく You are shining, you are shining 伝えたい I'm happy, I'm happy 新しく You are shining, you are shining オープンでこうオープンでこう地域や社会の目線に立ち発展に積極的に貢献しよう近づいてこう近づいてこう全ての世代と距離を近く親しく接したならは僕をなそう縛られてる心を捨ててこう新しい取り組みをしよう主の言葉で心を燃やして動き出そうどんどんチャレンジしよう家族のような温かさで愛に満ちた教会しよう CGM オープンの先駆者として強みを生かし大胆になろう伝えたい I'm happy, I'm happy 新しく You are shining, you are shining 伝えたい I'm happy, I'm happy 新しく You are shining, you are shining 主の御言葉に出会い全て与えられた何もない私だったけど育ててくれたその愛をいつまでも忘れずにいようこれやった
take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you kiss your car, and then you go and hate your girl. So hit me with all you've got, 'cause I'm ready to face you now. I'm ready to take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you kiss your car, and then you go and hate your girl. So hit me with all you've got, 'cause I'm ready to face you now. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I'm ready to take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you kiss your car, and then you go and hate your girl. So hit me with all you've got, 'cause I'm ready to face you now. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I made myself small. I hid in a corner. I played the good girl. Not this time, no longer. I'm ready to take the heat. I'm ready to take a stand. I'm not gonna stand for this, being pushed around again. I hate to see you kiss your car, and then you go and hate your girl. So hit me with all you've got, 'cause I'm ready to face you now. I'm ready to face you. I'm ready to. I'm ready.
And there you have it. That is Juice-Star Aiden Verity from New Zealand with Cameron Fry Takes a Stand. Before that, Open My Eyes from Kuma-chung from Japan. And of course, the featured artist of the day, Man in Groom from the Paper Music Associates in Korea with Cold Summer. So let's go get into some news going on around the world. And of course, once again, why do we have to listen to the world news? Because Sunseem said, look at the news and see what God is doing in the world right now. And it gives us prayer topics and it helps us to understand what the world is like. So we're going to start off with the coronavirus updates for today. In the world, there are 252.4 million cases so far, with over 5 million deaths at a 2.02% mortality rate. Top 5 countries going by daily infection rates and daily death rates. U.S. on top on this Friday. Of course, they're always on top by Friday. 94,000 cases in a day with 1,493 deaths. Germany, 45,000 cases with 244 deaths. And that's actually a big jump. Germany was in fourth. Now they're number 2. UK, 39,000 cases, 214 deaths. Russia drops to fourth with only 38,000 cases, but yet they still have 1,239 deaths per day, and they're still number 1 in the world for the weekly averages. Turkey rounds up the top 5, 27,000 cases, 203 deaths. Over here in North America, where I'm at right now, we have the U.S. on top, Mexico, 3,600 cases in a day with 299 deaths, and then Canada with 2,500 cases and 32 deaths. So let's take a look at the top 3 news going on around the world. And the big news here in America, because I'm here right now, is this big trial for Kyle Rittenhouse, 17-year-old boy. He has been accused of, well, not accused, he's being charged with 2 counts of homicide. He killed 2 people and he shot off one person, someone's bicep, right? In the riots shortly after George Floyd's death. So this the interesting thing is the U.S. teen gunman's lawyers are seeking a mistrial. So the lawyers for a teenager charged, Kyle Rittenhouse, with shooting 3 people amid civil unrest in Wisconsin last year have called for a mistrial. I was actually watching yesterday's trial, and it was quite incredible because they didn't even have to put this guy on trial, and this guy did a superb job. However, the person that takes the cake is the prosecutor, and it's ridiculous. Like, it's okay. I'll just tell you. So Kyle Rittenhouse defense asked that the case be dismissed after the judge angrily rebuked prosecutors for airing apparently inadmissible evidence. So Rittenhouse is now 18 years old. I was watching his testimony. He was sobbing uncontrollably, and they say probably has PTSD because he killed two people, right? And he did testify that he killed two men and injured a third on August 25th, 2020 on the streets of Kenosha in self-defense. So this is a big thing. The murder was all in self-defense. So the counts of reckless, intentional, and attempted homicide after he fatally shot Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber, and wounded Gage Grosskreutz, right? So the riots erupted on the streets of the city 2 days earlier after police shot a black man, Jacob Blake, and Mr. Rittenhouse traveled to the city from his home in Illinois, and with a semi-automatic rifle in tow, he said he sought to help protect property from unrest on the streets. So why was there a mistrial motion? And guys, you can find this all over the internet for the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. It was so bad, like the prosecutors were so bad that the judge had to send out the jury 3 times so he can rebuke the prosecutors. Like literally, he was angry. Like because like one of them is the prosecutors brought in evidence that was already deemed inadmissible in pretrial, and then they brought it up again. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, are you trying to get a mistrial?" Right? So some theories are basically the case is they say the case is basically open and shut, and it was all self-defense. And this lawyer wants to get a mistrial so they can try again, right? Because it's so bad right now. Like, one of the people got shot in the arm who still lived in his testimony, and he was being cross-examined. And basically they asked, when did Kyle shoot him in the arm? And he said after he pointed the gun at the guy's head. So honestly, guys, if someone points a gun at your head and you shoot them, is that self-defense? And that, basically all the lawyers watching like, okay, that case is thrown out because there's no way you can say that wasn't self-defense. There's a gun pointed at your head, right? So, like you can even see the prosecutor, like his head in his hands, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how bad this is going. But this was day 7 of the trial. Right, and the guy is becoming famous now as a lawyer named Thomas Binger, and basically the new hashtag that's out is called Disbar Binger because he didn't do it just once, he did 3 times. 3 times it happens. Like, he made the judge furious, right? Violating pretrial rulings, introducing evidence not relevant to trial. And it was, like you can see it all online. So they are going to actually ask for a mistrial or a mistrial with prejudice, which means that it's done and you can never do this trial again. Like basically he's scot-free and he's off, right? So honestly, it's brutal. And I wasn't watching by myself. I'm watching, there's a panel of 6 lawyers that are watching the trial. And it's I'm on YouTube, and these 6 lawyers are watching it and reacting as it goes, and they're all furious, like going, "This guy has no idea what he's doing. This guy's gonna get a mistrial for sure," kind of thing. So it was pretty incredible what was happening at that time. So I was like, I didn't know how bad it was until the lawyers were saying this is something that's been that every trial lawyer should know, and the fact that he tried to do something like this was so bad that they should even disbar him from ever being a lawyer again, or put him out, like suspend him, kind of thing. So it's supposed to be that bad. I don't know because I'm not a lawyer, but that's what they said. So that's the first on the news is this Kyle Rittenhouse thing, and it's this trial. And it's a huge trial too, and it looks like it may actually be thrown out altogether because of the lawyers. Second on the news is about climate change. Iran says if other countries lift sanctions on them, they will ratify the Paris Agreement. So Iran will ratify the landmark Paris Agreement on climate change only if sanctions against it are lifted, a senior leader has told the BBC. So Ali Salajege said sanctions were impeding Iran in areas like renewable energy, and Iran is the world's 8th largest CO2 emitter, yet is one of the few countries not to ratify the Paris Pact, and emissions have soared in recent years as overseas investments in renewable energy have collapsed. The government has also violently suppressed protests about water shortages, while the country's president, Ibrahim Raisi, has chosen not to come to the UN Climate Change Summit in Glasgow. The Iranian team is here to plead for relief from the economic blockade. However, Iran has been criticized for damaging its own water supply by drilling over 1 million wells and building around 700 dams. So on the issue of the Paris Climate Agreement, they said that the pact had to be a two-way street. So they're like, if you're putting oppressive sanctions on us by force, it does not allow us for any kind of imports, even medicine, which is a human fundamental right. But can Iran be trusted on climate change? And the country had originally said that even if sanctions weren't removed, they promised that CO2 would be reduced. And the reality is somewhat different. Carbon pollution has in fact gone up, and the country is rated as critically insufficient on climate change by the Climate Action Tracker. Now, the country hasn't submitted a carbon cutting plan since 2015, and experts say their emissions are likely to increase by 50% by 2030. So as a country that is massively dependent on oil and gas exports, how will Iran cope in a world that will likely see a shrinking demand for fossil fuels? While the rest of the world is engaged in the discussions on cutting carbon and raising finance for the developing world, there's little room for debates with Iran. So the country's representatives are there to make a point about the sanctions, right? So right now they're not going to join the global fight against climate change, but they want the sanctions to be lifted first. So that's what's second on the news. And last but not least, the top 3 news, number 3. In Haiti, right? Haiti, there's a water shortage, and people are praying for rain every single day. A fuel shortage brought about by gangs blocking the access roads to distribution terminals is throwing Haiti into further chaos. So residents of the capital, Port-au-Prince, say they cannot get hold of drinking water as water pumps have stopped running due to the lack of petrol. So deliveries of bottled water have also been disrupted, meaning that many residents have to rely on rainwater. So National Police Chief France Elby said on Tuesday that measures taken so far to allow for the safe distribution of fuel had failed to work. Now, Mr. Elbe said that the police had set up a security corridor from the Varot terminal in Port-au-Prince, and that goods such as rice, cooking oil, and cement were getting through to consumers, but tanker lorries carrying fuel were not being allowed to pass by gang members blocking the entrances to the port. Haitian gangs have long extorted delivery drivers, but the situation has escalated since the assassination by mercenaries of President Jovenel Moise in July. So in the power vacuum following the president's killing, gang leaders have become more brazen and stepped up their criminal activities, which include kidnappings for ransom and extortion. There's a former police officer who leads an alliance of 9 of the most powerful gangs in Port-au-Prince, demonstrated his power last month when his followers opened fire at a monument just as Prime Minister Ariel Henry was about to lay a wreath. And the Prime Minister and his security detail fled, and surrounded by heavily armed masked men, they made a show of laying a wreath himself. So in a news conference last month, he said that his criminal alliance G9 and family was behind blockades around the fuel terminal. And this guy in charge of the gang is ex-police officer, right? So he said he wouldn't allow any fuel to be delivered until the Prime Minister Ariel Henry stepped down. So the fuel shortages have been so severe that they have threatened the lives of patients in hospitals, which rely on fuel power generators to run life-saving equipment. But they have had also a domino effect on many other key goods, which rely on lorry drivers for delivery or on fuel for production. Right, so that is a huge thing. It's not just oil shortages. It's causing water shortages and other shortages also, and it's happening because of civil unrest. And there's gangs that are stopping the fuel lorries from even getting into the city. So we'll see what happens there too, but a big topic we can pray about. Which leads us into sporting news. Top 3 news in sports. We got the NBA. A couple news on the grid yesterday. We had the Lakers beating the Miami Heat, which is a good team, and this is the second win they've had in a row without LeBron James. Russell Westbrook, triple-double, 25 points, 12 rebounds, 14 assists, and now they moved up to 7-5. Washington and Cleveland, 2 of the top teams in the East. Washington beats Cleveland 97-94, and they're now at 8-3. Brooklyn beats Orlando 123-90. They're now at 8-4, and Kevin Durant had 30 points that game. Milwaukee, they beat the New York Knicks, which is one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, 112-100, and now they are sitting at 500. Giannis, 15 points, 15 rebounds, and 8 assists. Chicago, one of the top teams in the league, defeats the Dallas Mavericks 117-107. Vukovic, 18 points, 10 rebounds, and now the Chicago Bulls are at 8-3. Golden State Warriors, best team in the league right now. They defeat the Minnesota Timberwolves 123-110. Andrew Wiggins with 35 points, and now they sit nice at 10-1. In second news in sports, we have the NHL. The Toronto Maple Leafs defeat the Philadelphia Flyers. Austin Matthews, they beat them 3-0. Austin Matthews with 2 assists. The Nashville Predators beat the Dallas Stars 4-2. The rookie Tanner Jeannot, 1 goal, 1 assist. And last, we have the Minnesota Wild defeating the Minnesota Wild defeating the Arizona Coyotes 5-2, and that is their 4th straight win. All right, so that is the news going on around the world. That is top 3 news in sports in the world, and of course, the coronavirus updates. So that means it's time for the golden time. Right? And this is time for praise and worship, and we can just do this together on the Morning Star Drive. Hope that all of us can really, really enjoy this time. We're going to get things going on a good beat. We're going to start with The Ideal World 2, and then Let's Run Before the Rain Pours, and then we'll end things off with Our Love is Eternal Love. So, as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
Let's all run, Providence calls, history awaits. Let us rise up and shine heaven's truth. Now let us go to the place where our Lord reigns, there we will live, valuably as gold. We can fulfill the hope of the next 1,000 years. Hey, young people, wake up and realize. Hey, young people, hurry, come on. You are precious, young people of today. You're shining bright, young people of today. Young people come, young people come. It's the world ruled by the Lord, the new history will fulfill God's purpose for mankind. Now the words being proclaimed by our Lord here in this place. History is made here in Providence. The ideal world. Let's all run, Providence calls, history awaits. Let us rise up and shine heaven's truth. Now let us go to the place where our Lord reigns, there we will live, valuably as gold. We can fulfill the hope of the next 1,000 years. Hey, young people, wake up and realize. Hey, young people, hurry, come on. You are precious, young people of today. You're shining bright, young people of today. Young people come, young people come. It's the world ruled by the Lord, the new history will fulfill God's purpose for mankind. Now the words being proclaimed by our Lord here in this place. History is made here in Providence. The ideal world. Now the words being proclaimed by our Lord here in this place. History is made here in Providence. The ideal world. This is Providence. The ideal world.
while watching as I ran, lost my me and clapped. Then the Holy Spirit said, follow me. Come on, let us run before the rain starts to pour. You must get it done. It's the opportunity, she said to me. The moment the Spirit inspired me, she made me realize and looking good. She once again guided my every step. I have no doubts, nothing to verify. I'm absolutely certain. Mighty God, Holy Spirit, we are now hurrying on our way, happily and so full of joy. The Holy Spirit is right next to us, serving her diligently. We go on our way. 안녕,
How I love you. I love each of you with all my heart. That will never change, 'cause my love is eternal. How I love you. I love each of you with all my heart. That will never change, 'cause my love is eternal. Eternally, this love will never fade. And in return, I ask for your love, never changing, eternal love. And now won't you like me too? Since I like you so very much, we have a love that never ends. It lasts forever. Our love is eternal. have a love that never ends. It lasts forever. Our love is eternal. All of creation belongs to me. They're mine when they are yours. Our love shall last always forever.
And there you have it. That is Our Love is Eternal Love. Before that, Let's Run Before the Rain Pours, and of course, The Ideal World 2. Okay, so let's get into the word study for this last day of the week. And of course, every Friday we are doing the Wednesday message word study. All right, so this week's message is Jehovah is my strength and power. And this week, of course, every Wednesday we have our leaders preaching to us. And I'm super grateful and thankful to all the leaders putting in all that effort and the amazing stuff that they're doing. And I really hope that all of us can continue to pray for them and continue to encourage them a lot, because it's what they're doing is amazing. What they're doing is they're delivering the words of God. It's a lot of pressure, right? So I hope that all of us too can really be able to take into consideration all that they're doing for us, and that's something that I really hope that we can value and cherish the words that we get. And so for me too, I was at service. I was literally at the service on Wednesday, really inspiring. And of course, it's so different to see it live, right? To feel it more because you see the person right in front of you. So I'm very, very grateful about this. So a couple things. Let's just go over a couple points. There's about 2 big points that I really, really were inspired by. But let's start with some of the other points that I was looking at. Like, for instance, will God give us strength if we do nothing? Right? That's one of the points I really liked. Is first thing we need to do is what? The first thing we need to do is to realize why we need the strength and power from God. Like, why do we actually why should I ask God for power and strength? So we need to first realize that. Then we have to pray sincerely for it. God will give it to us, right? So if anything else, what is we would think to ourselves, do you think God's going to give it to you for nothing? It's got nothing to do with you have to go out and evangelize 10,000 people, right? It's not like that type of thing that God is asking. The big thing that God asks more than anything else is, can you realize why it's so important to get power from me? And then pray sincerely for it. That's the thing. It's really, isn't it very different than what we thought? And when God says, hey, do you think God's going to just do this for nothing? In our heads, we're thinking, oh man, what do I need to do? But more than that is to value how much and how great the power and strength from God really is, and pray sincerely for it. Right? Because what happens when you don't have strength? If we don't have strength, when the word comes, we lose grace. When the word comes, Satan takes the grace from us. And we need God's strength. And then we're not going to be dragged around by Satan's. We need the strength even to listen to the word, to be inspired and put into action. But when we have that strength, one thing I like what Sunseem said is, when you have strength, you feel like working. You feel like running for this history. You feel like helping other people too, because you have strength. And this is one of the first things that I was really, really inspired by when Sunseem started talking about his stories, okay? And it was when he talked about one day in the courtyard near his house, it became a mess because Satans and demons were all over the area, right? So it's oh, that's interesting. Though Satan was so Sunseem going out, beating them, injuring them, putting them into piles, and his soul and spirit is just destroying them. And then he's all right, man, they're not leaving. So he's getting the sword of the Holy Spirit and just getting ready to just go after, to kill them. So he asked God and the Holy Spirit what to do, right? Should I destroy them with the sword of the Spirit? But then he said, Jesus came. And this is the inspiring part, is he says, do not fight to kill, but fight to cast them away instead. And I'm like, what? Like, these are Satans and demons dragging people around, doing terrible things. And even then, Jesus is like, no, you don't fight to kill. We're not there to kill, but cast them away instead. And this is one of the reasons why it made me think about, my today's opening, the opening to today's podcast. I was like, when people leave, we're not there to kill people or to hate them or destroy them or even wish upon that they're going to hell, right? Is this week's message? It's like, no, you got to love everyone more than anything else. And even in that situation with Satans and demons, don't fight to kill, but fight to cast them away instead. So that was super inspiring for me, right? And I was sitting there like going, "Wow, okay, that is really, really inspiring," and something I'm just like, yeah, I'm just super grateful and happy that how consistent God is. Like, well, because He's God, but just to see it. Like in that situation, you're like, no, let's destroy Satan's and demons. Like, no, cast them out. That's the point. And in my head, I was thinking, why wouldn't we want to destroy them? And I thought to myself, oh, maybe is it because God already knows that they're destroyed because they're already in hell? Like, it's really interesting. I'm like, what does that mean, right? So I looked at that and said, oh, okay, that's interesting, kind of thing, and that's really inspiring for me. So, if we understand, one thing that Sanjeev said, understanding why we need strength and power right now is if you realize all the things that we need to do in this time period right now, you would be praying for strength and power right now. If you realize, like if you understand, there are so many things we need to do right now in this time period. And it's like, wow, maybe I'm not realizing fully. Like, what are all the things I need to do? Yeah. So for us, this time of prayer, what time is it now? It's making a revolution of self. It's a revolution of your thoughts, your mind, this becoming spiritual. We need that power and strength to revolutionize ourselves, right? And, basically, Sanjim actually said those that are not running with God are lazy, right? They cannot receive spiritual strength. And, soon the weather's going to grow cold. It's going to be winter. And since God made everything beautiful according to time, always receive God's strength and power diligently according to the time. Which means, when it comes to winter and it gets really, really cold, or spiritually speaking, the winter is like a time of death, right? Where the Satans and demons come to attack. Then we have to understand is we need more strength. Just like in the winter time, it gets cold, we need more energy and power in our households to heat the house, right? We need more energy. In the same way, when it comes to the spiritual side of the winter of our faith, we need more strength and power right now, knowing that for every season, God has made everything beautiful according to its time, and we have to understand it to that level. So we need to set the condition, take action, and know that, hey, you know what? We are those that are saved, raptured, going to the golden city. So we have to set those conditions, make sure that other people are saved too, right? So this is like this. I like this point too because this is a really good one. Is the question was, do you think when Sunseem asks for strength that God just all of a sudden just gives him abundant strength right when Sunseem asks? And Sunseem said, just like a CEO, he runs like crazy and he knows he's not going to make money until he runs like crazy, right? And he says, when I pray for strength from God, I don't just receive a bundle of strength, right? He has to pray, right, to receive the word. And then he has to preach it. Then he has to evangelize. Then he has to manage. And you have to think about it. There is strength needed for each and every field, right? And as you do it, God will give you strength for each of those fields that you have. You're not going to just have all of a sudden abundant strength for evangelism if you don't go out to evangelize. It makes no sense, right? You're not going to get like abundant strength for lecturing if you're not lecturing. It makes no sense. He'll only give it in the field that you're actually doing, which is wise. Like, why would you give strength to someone who's going to waste it because they're not going to do it anyways? So we have to be those. We get the abundant strength when we run like crazy in that area. God will give us more strength so that we can do it, right? And, for me as a business major, I loved it. Be a conglomerate in faith, right? Become the business owner of faith, a conglomerate in faith. If you want to be successful in evangelism, you have to do it a lot. Be a conglomerate in that. If you want to be successful in Thanksgiving, you always have to realize and be thankful what God does, always giving thanks, whether it's being conglomerate in praise or in the word or reading the word a lot or realizing or whatever it is, prayer. We have, in order for us to become a conglomerate, we have to put in all the energy and effort to do so. That's the only way. Right? So we, if anything else, one thing I like when Cecily's talking about prayer, because that's one thing that we're all working on right now. We've got to become prayer experts, right? And one thing he said is, if you're a prayer expert, you never pray for the same thing. You never repeat stuff if you become a prayer expert. So think about that in your prayer. Are you praying the same thing over and over again? Or are you becoming an expert and talking about it in a different way and, finding out other things that you need to pray about? If anything, what Sanjeev said is your prayer should be worth listening to, right? It's like a podcast too. In this podcast, if it's not worth listening to, people are not going to support it. People are not going to watch this, listen to this podcast if it's not worth listening to, right? And even if they do listen to it, it becomes very superficial because no one wants to hear it anyways, right? We have to be those, right? We have to be those that are professionals, conglomerates. People watch professionals. When you look at athletes, we're watching the NFL. That's why I report sporting news. NFL, NBA, NHL, EPL. They're all professional leagues. And people are paying to watch it. They're not just watching it, they're paying to watch it. Like sometimes like, yeah, if you see amateurs, what do you say? Oh, yeah, they're just exercising, right? It's true. So we have to be those that become professionals in evangelism, professionals in lecturing, professionals in management. And, what about when Ceci talks about running out of strength? What do you do if you run out of strength? And it's like, well, the more you use it, the more God gives you. So it's kind of like, it's counterintuitive. Like, oh, I'm running out of strength. I should reserve or save it. No, God's like, no. The more you use it, the more God will give you. I'm like, wow, it's so counterintuitive because we always think, oh no, I'm down to my last bit of money. And we're like, oh, I can't spend, I got to save it. But God's like, nope. If God's like basically saying, if you spend it, I'll give you more when you spend it, right? So I like it because it kind of like talks about time. We only have a certain amount of time every day, like 14,000 some odd minutes per day, right? But if you have that many minutes, then what does that mean? Is that right? I think it's something along that line. 24 times 60, is that right? Let me just check that. Like you only have a certain amount of minutes per day, but once you use it, it's done. It never comes back. Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's 1,440 minutes a day. Can you imagine 1,440 minutes a day? And if you waste it, you'll never get it back. And in the same way too, we have to use that strength so that God gives us more, right? Keep using. Gain new strength every day. Use your power and strength of God daily. Keep using it over and over and over again, and God will give us more. What about this part? I thought this was really interesting when Sanjeev says, you want to know how hard it is? If you want to know how hard it is, the things that I'm doing, try imitating just one thing I've done. And when you try to imitate that one thing, then you'll know how difficult that one thing is. Right? And then he'll say, then you will know that I didn't do it alone, but it was with the Holy Trinity and with my followers. Look at Mormondom. There's no way. Look at how could you make that? That's over decades. Yeah, it's so when he shows us all the different things he's done to become a conglomerate of faith, you're like, man, every area he's a conglomerate in evangelism, in lecturing, in preaching, in receiving the word, in praying, right? In building, doing pruning. It's incredible what he does. So I hope that all of us too, we can be those that can revolutionize our heart and soul. But I think the one thing that I thought that was really inspiring, the last point I'm going to make today, is make up your mind, become apostle of this time period, and make up your mind to leave one thing behind before going to heaven. It's like leave a legacy behind. Leave something behind for the generations to come. Leave something behind before going to heaven. And I was like, wow, this is something we really have to think about. Write your book, write your diaries, make a book of your life in Providence, make a video, a video diary, any one of these things. Just make these things. Leave it behind for generations and generations to watch, right? And I think it's something that we really have to think about very, very clearly too. Leave a legacy. Leave at least one thing behind before going to heaven. And, this is something that I think we have to think about in the long term. What are we leaving behind? Are we going to leave behind like a way to run a church? Are we leaving behind a way to make a system for the BFs, a system for preschool, or making the first preschool in American Providence or whatever country you're in? Like, there's so many things that we can think about. There's so many things. Leave a legacy. Leave that one thing behind before going to heaven. And I thought that was, I was like, wow. Yeah. I was like, that is something I think we should really, really think about deeply. Okay. So it is, that was a thing that made me think really deeply about this podcast, or making me think deeply about Sunday editions, or what else I can leave behind for the next generations to come, whether it's an online church or something along that line. But either way, that was something that I was thinking about a lot, and it made me think very, very deeply, and hope it's something that opens your hearts and minds too. What are you going to leave behind for the generations before you head into heaven? Yeah, what are you going to leave behind? Okay, so that is the word study for today. I hope it's something that kind of opens up your minds more than anything else, which means we're going to get into the song of choice for today, and it is Musical Friday. And on this Musical Friday, what we're going to do is we're going to play a song, one of the most famous musicals of all time, which is Phantom of the Opera. And this song, I love this song too. It's called Music of the Night. So I hope you guys all enjoy this Musical Friday, Phantom of the Opera with Music of the Night.
Nighttime sharpens, heightens each sensation. Darkness stirs and wakes imagination. Silently the senses abandon their defenses. Its splendor, grasp it, sense it, tremulous and tender. Turn your face away from the garish light of day. Turn your thoughts away from cold, unfeeling light, and listen the music of the night. Close your eyes and surrender to your darkest dreams. Purge your thoughts of the life you knew before. Close your eyes, let your spirit start to soar. And you'll live as you've never lived before. Softly, deftly, music shall caress you. Hear it, feel it, secretly possess you. Open up your mind, let your fantasies unwind in this darkness that you know you cannot find. The darkness of the music of the night. Let your mind start a journey through a strange new Touch me, trust me, savor each sensation. Let the dream begin. Let your darker side give in to the power of the music that I write. The power of the music of the
And wow, that was Music of the Night from the Phantom of the Opera musical. That's one of the musicals I haven't seen yet. I really, really want to watch it. It is a classic. Like there's that and Cats that I haven't seen, but I've seen Les Mis like 3 times, but I really want to watch that one. So Music of the Night from the Phantom of the Opera. Hope you guys really enjoyed that, which leads us into the last section for today and for not just today, but for the entire week. And of course, every Friday, last segment for the entire week is always Victory Rhymes with Youngse from South Africa. This is resurrected poetry of this time period. If you have any poems or recommend anything from Sunstein that you want to send, go ahead. We left the email in the description. Go ahead and leave it there for Youngse. Everyone, please welcome Youngse with Victory Rhymes.
Yo, what's up everyone, and welcome to this week's segment of Victory Rhymes on the Morning Star Drive. Presented by me, I'm Youngse, I am from South Africa, and I bring you the poems written by the brides of this history all the way from South Africa. Now, if you've written something or you like something that someone else has written, it could be literally anything, a song, a story, or a poem, or anything, or a rap. Then please send it to me through the email in the description box below, and I would love to hear from you and to feature your work here on Victory Rhymes. So let's get right into the poetry. This week is all about gaining strength, and it's just an amazing message this week, full of strength, really encouraging, really giving us hope, and really giving us just a lot of energy. And I hope that you will get a lot of strength and energy and inspiration also from this segment here today. And so the poem that I'm about to share today is a poem that I wrote and that I stumbled upon. And I don't know when I wrote this, but it actually matches with this week's Sunday message. So let's read the poem and then talk about it afterwards. Here we go. This poem doesn't have a name. Okay, I'm gonna name it. I'm gonna call it God is My Strength. Okay, here we go. There's something on my heart. God, I don't know where to start. God, you know every bit of my heart. But I feel kind of heavy, so I gotta share this part. My head feels on fire, but my heart feels low. Can't articulate, but I know you know. Like, whoa, even though I can't make my lips move, you're the one who hears even when I don't speak. You're the one who understands when I just put my hands together and seek. You make me feel strong even though I'm weak. You're so easy to talk to, and I'm such a mess. You open your arms, and one by one, I confess. I empty my thoughts, trying to connect dots, every word, every letter. Makes me feel better. Calms my mind. One by one, we become aligned. It makes me say, God, no matter what happens, no matter what hits, there's no need to disperse as long as I converse. I'll always get back up. When I feel low, I'll get pumped up because I know you're always here. No one can compare. So I live by a prayer. Okay, so that was the poem that I wrote about conversing with God. And this thing, conversation, prayer, it is something that I am just so thankful for. For one, we can always talk to the Trinity and the Lord. Even if my Wi-Fi is not working, even if my data has run out, or even if I can't find my phone, there's no limit. I can always talk to the Trinity, and this gives me so much strength because, sometimes we're in these situations where people around us really cannot understand, whether it's our family or friends or fellow church members, but we're just in a situation that we cannot even express. We cannot make sense of even ourselves. And it's just so amazing that we can always talk to God and God knows exactly. So that gives me so much strength. Yeah, it really, and this is also something that Sangsi mentioned in the Sunday message, that is one of the ways that we gain strength, is prayer. We gain that spiritual strength through prayer, and we gain God's thoughts. And it just gives me so much hope, because sometimes we become physical, sometimes we become humanistic, or sometimes we get filled with worries and fears and stress and all these things, these pressures of society and all these worries and useless thoughts, but then when we talk to God, we can empty that heart, we can confess everything to God, and we can gain God's thoughts. Through the word and through prayer, through talking about the word to God, and we could just always talk to God, and our minds can flip over from having these negative thoughts to really gaining strength and talking and receiving inspiration from God. So this is something that is just really amazing, because sometimes, we feel so complicated about a situation that we don't even know how to explain it to a person that they can actually understand. And even if some people try to understand, or they understand most of it, they cannot really get, what we mean. And sometimes we get misunderstood, and then it makes it so much worse. Or sometimes we tell someone something and then it sounds really bad. Like, we just cannot articulate it correctly. And it's just so amazing to me that I can talk to God, and God sees my heart, and God sees my thoughts, and God really knows what I'm trying to say, even though my words don't really make sense. But I'm confessing everything as much as I can, and God sees my heart. And it's just amazing that we have our bridegroom that we can always talk to wherever we go. It's just so amazing. And we all go through different situations, difficulties with our work or family or various things, or sometimes just the fact that people don't understand why we do things or don't do things, and we just can't explain to them in a way that they can understand. But it's just so amazing that we can talk to God and always discuss with God and follow God's will. So yeah, I hope that everyone feels inspired to pray, and just know that if you don't know what to say, just start. Like, if your heart feels too complicated, then just say that, like, the heart feels too complicated, I don't know what to say, I feel today is just difficult. That's okay. So I guess I wrote this poem also from that kind of point. Maybe I was having a day just feeling like complicated, and then I probably wrote it just feeling so thankful that I know that I can talk to God. So everyone, this brings us to the end of today's Victory Rhyme segment. I hope that you will be filled with strength and that you can remember the message of this week, Jehovah is my strength and power, and that you can have wonderful conversations with him on your way to work, at work, back from work, and just throughout your entire day. You can really converse with God and talk about everything. There's nothing that we need to hide, but we can have this wonderful conversations with our bridegroom. Have a wonderful day, everyone. This brings us to the end. I'm wishing you a lovely day from sunny South Africa. Yeah, it's summer here right now. And I'll be back again next week with another segment of Victory Rhymes. This is Youngse. Goodbye.
And there you have it. That is Victory Rhymes with Youngse from South Africa. Thank you so much for another amazing and awesome episode. That is the last segment for today and the entire week. Hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Make sure to check out the video on Espresso with Sky for the Tower of Babel. And of course, make sure you can check out the Sunday edition this week. I believe we're going to meet Jessica Poole from New Zealand. Everyone have an awesome day, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.